and this really is the same. When it comes to tests in our lives, people always think that, if it is that you're a good Muslim, you live a good life, you behave well with people, then you really, you shouldn't really be tested. Why would Allah want to, in a sense? And often people equate a test with a punishment. A test with a punishment. So if something happens to them, they say, it's because of your Islam. You Muslims, that's why it's happening to you. And sometimes we do the same. So hurricane takes place in Bali or whatever it is. You see, in that part of Indonesia, that's where all the pubs are. All the pubs are in Bali, and all of the tourists go to Bali, and they do all, whatever. Haiti, they have all of these voodoo things, they are all these Christian people, and that's why Allah send those things on them. That's a form of, better yet, California. Something happens, an earthquake happens in California, Vegas, something happens. So we begin to equate a disaster or something, or some form of terrible tragedy of what has happened with a test, with a punishment. And the thing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends people through these, okay? And it is for us to be able to look that they are punished. And what Allah is looking for is, see, how are you going to respond? How are you going to respond? Are you going to be, develop a sense of patience and so on? Everybody knows about the experiments about that was conducted by the American Navy a long time ago, where there were these rats that were placed in cages and that were shocked to death. Okay? And what would happen is that they were shocked to the point where, they were being, in other words, you were trying to get them to perform a particular thing. If it is that you do this particular thing, that you will get a shock. And if it is that you don't, then you wouldn't get a shock. So in other words, if you sort of stay away, and then you wouldn't be shocked. So the ones that were underwent and so would be shocked all of the time and didn't, in a sense, want to stop themselves from being shocked, they died earlier, right? No, not they died earlier, sorry. They died, and the others as well, because they did not want to go for the food, that they also died. So both sets of things, and then they began to examine them internally to see what was going wrong with them, or what had happened to them from a physiological point of view. So when they were dissected and they were looking inside all of these different rats, what they found is that the ones that were undergoing the shock and who died, they are the ones who, in a sense, in their gut, did not find, different types of secretions of enzymes. And in other words, all of the internal system was more or less intact. The ones who were trying to stay away from something, they are the ones who they found underwent far more stress. And all of this, the physical symptoms of stress. Which also tells us that sometimes and this is a lesson. The lesson in this is that sometimes when you try to avoid and confront things which you ought to confront, and you feel as though that, instead of, I know I don't get along well with that person, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to be in the same room with that person. So whenever he's here, I will be there. Whenever he's there, I'll be here. I just don't want to confront him. I just want to stay away from him. I don't want to confront. Or it could be a personal thing, your own ego or something else about your life. I just don't want to confront this thing. It could be something that you are concerned, that you're worried about. You know what I'll do? Instead of really declaring and opening up to somebody who is close to me and trying to find a viable solution, what I'll do is that I'll just keep it within myself. I'm strong. I'll keep it within myself. And I'm hoping that if I keep it within myself and show that I'm strong and show a good face to the public, then all will be well. What people don't often recognize is they're doing more harm to themselves than good. Okay? What is taking place in themselves, they can't see. They can't see what is happening in their inside. It is a huge thing. And a lot of people they do not want to confront, all of these things which affect them. And this is the point about this, it is important to be able to confront things and deal with things as they come with, inshallah. Somebody just turn that phone off? Okay. Yeah. So the next one is perfecting the beginnings, okay? So he says that a sign of success in the end comes from relating a matter to God in the beginning. If there is no sunrise in the beginning, there is no sunrise in the end. What do you think that means? Yeah? If all starts well, all ends well? But what does it mean? What do people often do? What do people often do? They do things, whatever it is, and when something goes wrong, what do? They want to turn back to Allah, isn't it? So they feel that they have the means, isn't it? Why, if you're somebody who's quite intelligent, why should I pray and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance? I'm intelligent, isn't it? Allah gave me all of this. I don't need to go to Allah and ask Him. I don't need to make the dua. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that. I don't need to be worried about prayer. I know that I'm going to do well. I mean, I've done all the work that I need to do. So we do it, and then perhaps something goes wrong somewhere along the line. We get an illness, we fall sick, we fall short of our schedules, as the case may be. So what do we do then? We want to turn to Allah then. So this aphorism is teaching us a lesson that before you do anything, turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Learn to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if it's the simplest of things, turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the beginning, then Allah is with you. And inshallah, you will get the type of reward that you want. Okay? So the next one is about something called self-criticism. So we spoke about reflection, and this one is about self-criticism. And it says that the origin of every sin, forgetfulness, and loss is being self-righteous. And the origin of every good deed, awareness, and chastity is being self-critical. Do you agree with that? Does it make sense? Yeah? Aisha, what do you think it means? Scapegoat? Okay, scapegoat. So, you skip one. What? Becoming complacent. Yeah, complacency. Okay. Anybody else? What is self-righteous? What is becoming self-righteous? Give me an example of what it means to be self-righteous. Anybody? Huh? Egotistical. Okay. Anything else? Sheikh Abdul Alim? Self-righteous? Yeah. Better than being everybody else? Yeah, and this is one of the qualities that destroys, yeah?
To feel as if you are able to correct and guide everybody else, but you're above that yourself.
Yeah. And the Quran gives many examples of people who believe that, if we do wrong, it doesn't really matter. Paradise is ours. We're going, our destination has already been taken care of. We're fine. It's you guys who needs to worry. And sometimes we feel the same, isn't it? It doesn't matter. We guys, we are Muslims. We've declared Shahada. Jannah is ours. No matter what we do. Okay? So, but then he talks about three things here. He talks about sin, he talks about forgetfulness, and he talks about lust. And he says that the root cause of all of them is that of being self-righteous. When it is that you feel as though that you are better than everyone else, okay? The nafs, in a sense, takes over you. And the opposite of that, he talks about being self-critical. Really being critical about yourself. And the Sahaba were like that. There were people, we know the story of Handala who knew the names of the munafiqun, isn't it? The hypocrites in Medina. And the name of the top 10 munafiqun, as some of the hadith talks about. And then what would he do? He would continuously be going to Handala, Umar ibn Khattab, going to Handala and saying, who are the, is Umar amongst them? I heard you know the names. Is Umar amongst them? Am I one of the munafiqun, the best of the believers? This is the way that they looked at it. They never saw themselves, and there was no pride in them. Yeah? Okay, the next one is that of good friends. And this one says that do not befriend someone who does not elevate you with his state. That meant to be state. Or guide you to God with his speech. It could be that you are doing evil, yet you think that you're doing good because you are comparing yourself to your friends who is worse than you. Can you relate to that one? What do you think? Guys, what do you think about that one? Is that true? Yeah. You see, they often say that you will become like your friend, isn't it? You will become. Tell me your whole friends and tell you who you are. And it's so true. The company that you keep, sometimes you feel that, we are good, we are immune, we can insulate ourselves from everyone. It doesn't matter who we interact with, we will be who we are. We will be able to maintain our. But this is what it's saying. After a period of time, that barrier that you think that you have protecting you is slowly going to be eroded. And as it becomes eroded, then you're going to lose. Yeah.
Okay, so question. If you see a Muslim friend or just a friend who is on her own path,
Yeah.
do you then just leave them? Or because then they're not relating to you?
Yeah.
They're not elevating your
Yeah.
do you leave them be?
Yeah.